World AIDS Day. Learn more right after this.
My college offers classes that meet my educational and career goals.
With opportunities outside of the classroom.
Where the faculty know me by name.
My college can prepare me for my career.
I can earn an associate's degree and transfer credits to a bachelor's.
My college is a state college within the University System of Georgia.
My college offers courses that fit my schedule.
It's where excellence begins.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are GHC, Georgia Highlands College.
Welcome to Community Watch. Greg,
Now,
how you doing?
I'm good. I'm not excited about this show, but I know it's a much needed show.
I was just thinking, we've done a show about HIV and AIDS off and on for a while.
Oh, quite several years.
Yeah. And I was thinking it would be nice to not have to do this show.
Yeah. Or to know that the numbers are decreasing dramatically.
Yeah. But I sent you those things.
I know. That's what I'm saying. We need to do this show, but it's
right.
not one of those shows that it's a very informative show.
Well, World AIDS Day is coming up, and so that's sort of the excuse to have the show, but we need to have the discussion anyway. And so we will be talking about HIV and AIDS and World AIDS Day and some events coming up. And our guest will be Frank Tant. He'll be out with us right after this break. It's an important show, so please stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Packers. Viking. Packers. Viking. Viking.
Red state. Blue state. Vegan.
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Optimist.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities, our families,
United.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We're very happy to have with us today Frank Tant. Welcome back, Frank.
Thank you, John. It's good to be back.
I don't guess you know how many years we've been doing this show, but it's been a while.
I've done this show several years. I can't tell you an exact count, but at least 4 or 5.
So, how long have you been?
Executive director?
Is that your title, executive? What is your
I'm
title?
not the executive director. My title is office manager. Jean Cahill still has the title of executive director.
Still? So how long have you been working at the office?
I started working with the AIDS Resource Council in September 2002. So quite a while now.
Because Jean used to come onto the show.
She did. Initially, Jean came on the show with us. So World AIDS Day is December 1st.
That's right. It's always December 1st. This year it falls on a Thursday. So set your DVR so you don't miss Grey's Anatomy and How to Get Away with Murder and those kind of shows, because you're going to be, hopefully, with us at First Christian Church celebrating the 28th annual World AIDS Day service.
Let's back up. What is World AIDS Day?
World AIDS Day is a day that was begun in 1988 on the first day of December to promote awareness of HIV and AIDS. And it's always scheduled at 7 o'clock so that in every time zone, people are praying for the end of AIDS at the same time.
So actually in Alabama, it would be, it's not 7 p.m., it'd be 6.
But in Alabama, it would be 7 p.m. Central Time. They would do it at 7.
Okay.
Well, Frank, you are probably up on things better than we are, but I looked at some statistics online, sent some to Greg, knowing that we were going to be talking to you.
I appreciate that you did your homework.
And one of the things, and I guess this page was maybe a year old or so, but one of the things that I read that disturbed me was that in new HIV cases, the state of Georgia was like number 2
actually.
now in the country.
That's sad.
That was pretty alarming.
That is very alarming. I have to agree with you.
Let me ask you though. But Frank is that? I don't know. But why is that? I know you have new cases all over. Is it because maybe, or is it that states that are maybe years ago was?
I think I can answer your question. Okay. In Georgia, you have to realize that even though HIV is not a gay disease, it's still very prevalent in the gay community. The H in HIV does not stand for homosexual. It stands for human. But in Atlanta, we have a very large gay population in that city, as well as a very large homeless population. And those homeless people don't have a bottle of bleach sitting on their shelf that they can clean their needles for injection drug use, like those who are not homeless can afford to have a bottle of bleach sitting on the shelf.
So it's a combination between So what you're saying is a combination between a large gay population and a large, I guess you would say, drug use population.
Yes, and especially in the Northwest Georgia area, crystal meth is rampant. And crystal meth makes people incredibly sexually hyper, and they'll have sex and not even think about, should I be using a condom? I tell everybody that I test in my office, I give them my best advice, which is assume that anyone you're going to have sex with is HIV positive. Because there are so many people who don't know they're positive because they've never been tested. They don't get tested because they're either not gay or they're not an IV drug user.
But you know, now see, this is what bothers me. I can understand the fear. If you know you have a promiscuous lifestyle or you have several partners, I can understand the fear of testing.
Mm-hmm.
But with the number growing every year in Georgia, and with the population being high in certain demographics, it seems like you would be compelled by now to get tested, even if you're not gay, and even if whatever. But it seems like you would get tested just for general purposes.
Absolutely, and I recommend that everyone be tested at least once a year. And I recommend being tested in the month of your birthday. That way you know every time you turn another year older, it's time to be tested.
You know what else just dawned on me too? When you look at the high rate of divorce, and you have to ask yourself, what percentage of the divorce are from extramarital affairs? And so, I mean, so even if you are heterosexual in a marriage, there's still opportunities that you could actually contract the disease.
We had a board member who was married, very religious woman. Her husband was a parole officer, and they were living in San Diego, California. He had an affair with a woman he worked with in his parole office. The woman was HIV positive, and he contracted HIV from her and brought it back home to our board member, who is now dead from AIDS.
Wow.
She had no idea that her husband was cheating on her. If you're not with your mate 24/7, 365 days a year, you don't know what they're doing when you're not with them.
But I can see why certain segments of the population would assume, like you said, that it's not necessary for them to be tested.
Well, one of the most common ideas that are promoting the occurrence of HIV infection in our state is that most people have heard that treating HIV today is 1 pill once a day for most people, which is what I take, 1 pill once a day. And they think, oh, well, it's no big deal. But it is a big deal. The big deal is the way people treat you when they know you have it. Our theme for World AIDS Day this year is breaking the stigma. I'm sure you guys will remember back in the 80s when HIV first began, everybody was in a terrible panic about HIV, and people were being very careful.
Mm-hmm.
Now that people aren't dying like flies, they think it's not a big deal, but it is. There are people that I knew, that I have known since I was 2 years old, who don't have a problem with the fact that I'm gay, but they don't want anything to do with me because I'm HIV positive, thinking that they're going to catch HIV from me just from being in the same room. It doesn't work that way. My blood or my semen would have to get into their body for them to contract HIV from me.
So it's part of the, why, I guess what I'm struggling with is we're still clearly dealing with a stigma issue. Even though millions of dollars has been spent on education, clearly HIV, gay, a lot of things still stigmatize people in our community, and we don't talk about it.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I can't tell you another day really that I talk about HIV outside of our health fair when you were there, but outside of that, it's not that's a conversation that I can recall having. And when we know African Americans are one of the biggest groups for our country, new cases.
The fastest growing population of HIV positive people are heterosexual women of color. And when I say women of color, I don't just mean black women, I mean black, Hispanic, and Asian women.
Mm.
I read an article, it's probably about 3 years ago now, that said within a year's time that everybody was going to know someone in the United States who is HIV positive. They may not know that person is HIV positive because the person who is positive may not know they're positive. The Centers for Disease Control and the World Health Organization estimates that 30% of the people who are HIV positive don't know they're HIV positive because they don't get tested. And just like anything else, the sooner you know you have it, the better off you are, as far as fighting it goes.
So how do we begin, I guess, I guess part of why you're here, the awareness, because I guess you're right, in the 80s, people talked about AIDS and HIV, but now.
In the early 80s, we didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't isolate HIV in a lab until 1981. Before that, it was an enigma. Nobody knew what was causing all these people to die, how to prevent it, how to treat it. We now know all those things. We know what it is, we know how to prevent it, and we know how to treat it better than we ever have. But in a way, that's a double-edged sword because people are becoming complacent about it. They're not talking about it anymore. I talk about it all day, every day, because I'm in the office, testing people all day, every day, and educating people all day, every day.
Well, you know what? That brings up a question. So, y'all, testing is free at the office, correct?
Anytime we're open. No appointment is necessary. It takes about a half an hour.
So, how many tests do y'all do annually, roughly?
300 to 400.
Annually?
Annually.
300 or 400. Now, see, that's the problem.
Yeah, it needs to be.
That's the problem.
And the biggest day for testing for us is the Health Initiative for Men Health Fair that the 100 Black Men of Rome do. I'll do 80 tests that one day in 4 hours.
Boy, that's almost, it's more than a quarter, more than 25% of your annual. Wow.
And I provide HIV testing kits to Women of Worth, and they test them. Their numbers get added into our numbers.
So really,
and Shorter University. Their Student Health Services does HIV testing through our umbrella, or under our umbrella.
Well, we're coming up on a break here. When we come back, we're going to show you just how easy it is to get tested. There's nothing to it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you're looking for a new pet that your family will cherish every day, consider adopting from a shelter. Shelters are the best places to find a new pet. That's where you'll discover healthy, loyal, and loving animals, eager to become a part of your family. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet, so bring home your new buddy today. To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We're talking with Frank Tant of AIDS Resource Council about World AIDS Day, which is coming up on December 1st, and we'll find out about events coming up before that day to mark that occasion. But we wanted to talk a little bit about the test, which has undergone a number of improvements over the years. It's much easier.
It is such a much better test and an easier test to administer.
Well, you're going to let me take the test, okay? And that will.
Or Greg, either one. It doesn't matter to me. Whoever wants to be tested.
Well, it's kind of a tradition for me.
So
okay,
let's show us. If you were coming into my office to be tested, you would fill out a form that would give me or give the state demographics on you, what county you live in, how old you are, what race you are, whether you're Hispanic or not. It would also give them information about your sex life and drug use. You do not have to answer the questions about your sex life and drug use if you're uncomfortable answering them. I always ask people to answer them and answer them honestly, with the understanding that their name will not be associated with their answers when it is submitted to the state. Every person that is tested is assigned a barcode number. And that's how the state knows who they are, is from that number. A computer in Atlanta will read the sheet that I submit to the state, and that computer will then compile data, combining with every other test from every person that's been tested within the state of Georgia. And it will help the state determine where they need to funnel resources for HIV prevention and education. So it's important that they have good information.
Okay, that makes sense.
So how do we do the test?
And then after I get that form filled out, I would explain to you that a negative test on this test does not necessarily mean you're negative. The reason that's true is that this test is an HIV antibody test. It's not testing for the actual HIV virus. It's testing for your body's reaction to the virus. If the antibodies that this test tests for are not present, then HIV is not present in your body. This works just like an early pregnancy test, except you're not going to pee on the stick.
Yeah, that'd be hard to put on the show.
You're gonna swab your gums, and I'm gonna let you do your own swab.
Okay.
Because I don't know how sensitive your gums are, and this stick is pretty hard, and I don't want to press on someone's gums and hurt them. This is the processing fluid that the swab will go into. And after it goes into this processing fluid, it takes 20 minutes. The entire process, from walking into the office to the time you walk out with your results, takes about 30 minutes.
That's great. It used to take days.
It used to take 3 days for the results to come back from the state lab in Chatham County.
Yeah.
But this new test is much better. I've been using this test for about 3 years now. I've never had a false positive on it. The old test technology that you used to have to park it inside your cheek and gum for until it starts to taste salty, would take 3 days to come back, and I had several false positives on it over the 8 years that I used it. But I've been using this for about 3 years now, and I've never had a false positive. What you're going to do, John, is you're going to take this flat part here, you're going to smile, and you're going to run that flat part across your upper gum, flip it over and run it across your lower gum.
Alrighty.
I want skin cells on both sides of that. One from the upper, one from the lower.
Now, Frank, while he's doing that, I even know, I think you told me before, they even make tests over the counter.
Yes, this same test is available at any pharmacy pretty much.
So it's not like people...
It's $50 if you go to the pharmacy and buy it. It's free if you come to my office and buy it.
Well, I'm saying though, but people who may be embarrassed, there is an option. So it's not like you can't take it.
Yes.
If you have the means.
I don't recommend taking the home test because if it comes back positive, what are you going to do?
Well, then you know you need to go.
If you test positive in my office, before you leave my office, I'm going to pick up the phone and call the local HIV clinic and make an appointment for you to go start the process of finding out if you're sick enough to need treatment. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, a normal T cell count, and T cells are what HIV kills, for someone who does not have HIV ranges from 600 to 1100. Current guidelines are if your T cells are 500 or lower, they start you on medication right away to prevent you from going down to an AIDS diagnosis, which is 200 or less. My personal opinion is with the medicines as good as they are right now, and the side effects are so easy to manage, that once you find out you're HIV positive, I believe you should start medication as soon as possible. As soon as you can be approved for getting the medication, you should start medication. But that's just my opinion. And keep in mind, I'm not a doctor, nor am I a nurse. I'm just someone who's been living with it for 28 years and reading everything I can get my hands on for 28 years.
Well, you know, I guess that speaks to the advances that we've made to treat HIV and AIDS. But I guess the bigger part is, you know, you can make all the advancement in the world, but if people are not being tested, then, you know, when they find out, it may be too late.
You know, no one ever catches AIDS. They contract HIV. And over the course of about 10 years on average. So if someone is not treated for their HIV, they will develop AIDS. But these days, like I was saying, if you start medication early and your T cells never drop below 200, you're not going to get sick. There is really no reason for anyone to die from HIV today. I sadly had a client die 3 weeks ago. But he just got tired of taking medication and stopped taking it all on his own. And his T cells dropped down to 2. And he died from AIDS.
Well, Frank, before too much time gets away, give us the details on some of the events around World AIDS Day, which is coming up on December 1st.
Well, World AIDS Day is, as you said, December the 1st, and we are having our World AIDS Day service this year at the First Christian Church at 209 East 2nd Avenue, that big white marble church that's always, in my mind, been one of the prettiest churches in town.
Yes.
I've always wanted to go inside that church, and I finally had the chance to when I contacted Craig McDonald, the pastor, and went over to the church to talk to him about the program. And we're going to be doing it at First Christian Church at 7 p.m. Thursday, December the 1st. The service will last for approximately an hour, and then there is a reception in the church fellowship hall after that. The ladies of the church will be providing the refreshments, the cookies, the cakes, the sandwiches, whatever they serve. In conjunction with World AIDS Day, we have a display of quilt panels from the AIDS Memorial Quilt hanging in the Rome-Floyd County Library. And that will be starting November 26th and run through December the 7th.
Y'all been doing that for a while, haven't you?
Yes, Jean started that. Her first year as our executive director.
Good. And those are really very moving. Very.
They are.
Because I've gone to see those. Have you seen those?
No. I've seen them when I've been into the library, but I didn't go for that purpose. Yeah.
We always request panels from people from our area who have died from AIDS that have a quilt panel. Then we're going to have 10 panels hanging. They're huge panels. Each panel has 4 to 6 quilts on it.
So that starts on what date?
November the 26th through December the 7th.
Okay, great.
On December the 5th, while the quilts are still hanging at the library, we're going to be having a screening of a movie, a documentary called The Last One. It is done by a production company out of Atlanta called Red Thread Productions. You know, red being the color of HIV awareness. It is a documentary about the making of the AIDS Memorial Quilt, and particularly the last panel that's been added to it, and the hope that the last panel that has been added will actually be the last panel ever added.
And where would it be showing at?
In the Coosa room of the Rome Floyd County Library, Monday, December the 5th at 6 o'clock. And there will also be refreshments served, finger foods and non-alcoholic beverages.
So Frank, you know, with all these events and clearly to raise awareness, what else? I'm just wondering, you know, it seems like December World AIDS Day, you know, it's huge. But it's almost like right after, I don't know if right after the holidays or something, or I don't know if it's because of the holidays, but it's almost like we just kind of put it to the side. But yet the numbers are consistently growing. And now you say Georgia is ranked number 2
in the country. For new infections.
For new infections. So I mean, that is serious.
That is scary. The Atlanta Journal ran an article several months ago that said that 50% of gay young black men will test HIV positive in their lifetime. That's way too high. 1 is way too high when we know how to prevent it.
But 50%.
1 out of every 2 black gay men are going to test HIV positive.
That is scary.
That even today, as long as I've been dealing with HIV myself and working in the HIV community, that blows my mind.
Well, we're coming up on another break here. When we come back, we will give you some of these details again and some contact information, so don't go away.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We've been talking with Frank Tant of the AIDS Resource Council about World AIDS Day and events coming up around that special day. If you want more information, you can go to the website aidsresourcecouncil.org or call this number 706-290-9098. And I think the main message we want you to get, we want you to attend the events, of course, but get tested. Get tested once a year at least.
And it's free.
It's free.
It's free.
And easy. Thank you, Frank, for being with us again.
You're very welcome. I'm always happy to be here with you fellas.
And thank you for being with us out there. We'll see you next time on Community Watch.